Hello, magical souls. We are in the studio today with Serena, a student of my 8-week Akashic Record training program. And Serena has very gracefully agreed to share some of her experiences during the training program. And I want to start by explaining where we all started, how this all came about, and why would one get involved in the Akashic Records. So let's dive in. So have you ever felt like maybe you're living in a cosmic Groundhog Day? Same challenges, same patterns, same frustrations, rinse and repeat. But what if I told you that the answers to breaking free lie in the Akashic Records? And better yet, it might even involve dragons, unicorns, and interdimensional travel. Are you intrigued yet? Because today we're going on a very magical journey. So, who am I? I am Catherine Tack, and I wear many hats. I'm an author, artist, Akashic Record reader, spiritual mentor, and yes, I'm one of those hippy dippy types who has regular coffee breaks and chats with the Pleiadians, Arcturians, and other off-world beings of light. Yeah, that's who I am. And I just want to give you a bit of an overview of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to go into what are the Akashic Records, my journey into the sacred place, Serena's journey as well, how accessing your higher self is the foundation, often for the awakening, how the Akashic Records can assist in healing, awakening spiritual gifts, and even turning your life's karmic Groundhog Day into a golden age. And hopefully, we're going to have some fun along the way. Okay, so let's go. Firstly, what are the Akashic Records? A universal library of all of your soul's experiences, past, present, and potential futures. Imagine that it's like the internet, but for your soul, except no cat videos or memes, just infinite wisdom. Some humor for sure, but plenty of assistance to ensure you walk well during your earth walk. Okay. And when I first accessed the records, I was expecting glowing scrolls and angelic choirs, but instead I got a very sassy guide who told me to stop doubting myself, understand my self-worth, and step into my power already. So it turns out they're gentle and honest for your highest good. And I noticed you were laughing, Serena, because you got a similar experience. Yeah.
They can be quite sassy.
Okay, so let's have a look. Right, so where do we start? When I help others open the records, I take them on an 8-week journey, and it starts with awakening through the higher self. And to understand the importance of connecting to your higher self, we first look at how the higher self is the gateway to awakening, healing, and accessing the records. You can think of your higher self as maybe the GPS for your soul journey. But unlike Google Maps, it won't reroute you into confusion. It's got this master plan, and your higher self was with you when you chose what sort of life mission you wanted for this life. It helped you to choose your parents, where you would be born, and how you would be shaped and molded so that you could complete your mission and purpose. Again, I'm laughing because sometimes you think, what? Why am I being molded and shaped this way? It feels a bit uncomfortable. Okay, so whilst the Akashic Record keepers and guides are gentle and honest, think of your higher self as more of a left-brained sergeant major who loves you completely, but also gives you a big wake-up call from time to time to keep you moving forward. So it's less gentle than the Akashic Record keepers and guides, but very, very necessary to keep us moving in the right direction. Did you have anything else to add about the higher self, Serena?
Just, yeah, the higher self, when you connect, is very much like, duh, 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 we're getting this soul contract fulfilled. And when you kind of head into this world, you notice the difference with the language of the guides is so loving. And you will notice the difference. So yeah, what you're saying is absolutely accurate.
Good. I'm pleased we can laugh about it now. So yeah. Okay, so we another way of looking at it is when we overlap our conscious mind with our higher self's mind, we receive what I call the wise mind, the mind that helps you complete your mission and purpose in this lifetime. And it will steer you on the right track. It's very time sensitive, so it likes you to get a move on. Whereas the Akashic Record keepers and guides are very gentle and they say, oh, don't worry, if you can't get it done in this lifetime, you can get it done next lifetime. Whereas your higher self will say, no, 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 we agreed, we're doing it now. Come, let's get this done. So it's much more of a sergeant major, I find. Okay, so that's where we start. We start with the higher self, but then next we move on to the very magical Merkaba. Okay, let me just see if I can. There we go. The Merkaba activation is pivotal in bringing all the clairs online, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, etc. So when I'm in the Akashic Records, all my clairs are turned on up to max volume. It's like upgrading from ancient dial-up to ultra-fast fiber optic internet. So I'm talking clairaudience, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, the whole team showing up ready to play. So out of the records, I'm mostly clairvoyant, but the Merkaba does activate the others as well. But yeah, I would say outside of the records, I do see things, I do see people, I see ideas, and no, they're not unpaid actors hired by my imagination to keep things interesting. I see them because it's a bit like watching a high definition movie trailer, but instead of a Hollywood blockbuster, it's your soul's journey starring you. So that's your Merkaba. It's the vehicle that you can program to assist you with your earth walk. It opens up your mind so that you can see things, see paths, see interesting things for you. Did you have anything to add to that, Serena?
Sure. So the Merkaba is definitely something where we get lots of people say to us, how do I, develop my spiritual gifts? How do I uncover them? This is so powerful in doing that. And as Catherine was saying, you may already have, a little bit of clairvoyance, a little bit clairsentient. I was always clairaudient anyway. And as soon as I did this course and activated my Merkaba or Merkaba, different ways of saying it just heightened everything and all of the gifts came online. And yes, then when you're in the records, everything is at 100% capacity. It's truly magical. So the answer to the question that is the most common question, how can I uncover and release my spiritual gifts? This is the tool to do it. And it's multifaceted, it's multidimensional. There is so much more to it. It's almost a protection. And as Catherine mentioned, you can input programmed into your Merkaba, which goes into your subconscious, which is super powerful in shaping this reality and how you're staying on track with what higher self is guiding you to do.
Wonderful, yes. And the Merkaba also helps us to keep up with Mother Earth because many of us have heard about Mother Earth moving to 5D or the Golden Age. I don't mind what you want to call it, but as Mother Earth's moving there, we can keep up with her and move to 5D by activating our Merkaba, which the way I like to explain it also is that it's a bit like bringing heaven to earth, or yeah, living in heaven while your physical body is still in 3D. So you still have to eat and sleep and do all those things, but your conscious mind is living in 5D. And there's a lot of people that have said half of Mother Earth is in 5D and half of it's still in 3D. Or maybe I'm not sure if half is the right word. Part of her is there, part of her is here. And there's some people moving up into 5D and living in a very magical life with their Merkaba activated, and others still struggling in 3D with the heaviness of the energies and the difficulties. So, yeah.
And another thing I'll just add just before
Yeah.
we finish on the Merkaba is when we talk about a lot of the words, buzzwords at the minute are, the higher realms, dealing with the higher chakras. Anyone that works with the chakra system, for example, they know you're working with the seven, but the Merkaba actually deals with the 112 above your crown. You're going into the other realms. And so attunements, it actually attunes you fully up to, the divine. So it is so much more. And if you're looking for something that has everything, this is it.
I couldn't agree more. And in fact, on our next slide, I'm just going to open up to that and talk about healing with the Merkaba. Because it's actually quite known in the spiritual circles that you can heal your Merkaba when I mean, you can change your DNA when you activate your Merkaba. It's so another way of looking at it is that it works as an energetic field that connects you to your divine blueprint. This process can influence our DNA on a quantum level, helping to realign it with its original perfect structure. And there's ancient teachings and modern spiritual experiences confirm that activating the Merkaba can release energetic blocks, clear ancestral patterns, and recalibrate the body's frequency. And as a result, dormant aspects of our DNA may begin to awaken, unlocking higher states of consciousness, intuitive abilities, and even physical healing. Many people report feeling lighter, more connected, and experiencing a heightened awareness of their divine potential. It's as if their very essence is being upgraded to align with their soul's purpose. And one of my students had well, lots of my students have had health issues, and they put a program into their Merkaba and they're healed. Another student, she used to stutter, and then she added a program to her Merkaba, and she no longer stutters. So it's lots of ailments can be fixed, but it's important. The one thing I have to always stress is that we only add programs into our Merkaba that are pre-approved by the higher self. So for example, even if I'm ever going to perform a healing on someone, I first check with their higher self if I'm allowed to do so, because that person might have manifested the illness in the first place in order to learn how to heal themselves. So if I come along and heal them, that completely defeats the object of their being here and learning to manipulate energy to heal themselves or whatever it is that they need to do. So that's why we always check firstly with the higher self. And that's why we start with the higher self learning. Yeah. Did that all resonate for you, Serena? Everything I've said makes sense?
Definitely. And I think I remember during the training, you guided us with, how to shape the putting your programs into the Merkaba. And a lot of the time it was like, oh, goals then. So you'd go back to your default, what you'd do as a goal, and you'd be like, I want to win millions on the lottery. And you're like, no, no, let's just put, I'm always abundant. I always have enough. I program my Merkaba too. So it's kind of shifting and changing the way you think, because as you say, we're not going to be overriding soul contracts here. We have to be within the boundaries of our soul contract that the higher self guided us to do.
Yes, and that's a very good point. So I encourage everyone to program their Merkaba from a more intuitive, sort of feminine way of thinking and be very organic with it. And if we program it from our ego mind, we would say, I want £1 million and I want a whatever. So we want things, but actually, if we put it out to the universe and put it out with our Merkaba to bring to us what's better, not what we need, but what will support us in our earth journey, then you'll be surprised at what comes forward for you. Instead of being unhappy with all your millions of pounds, you'll actually be very satisfied soul. Yeah. So that's why we want to shift that, turn that upside down. Yeah. Good. Good, good, good. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at are karmic patterns. That's another important part of the Akashic Records is healing karma through the records. And now we can look at typically what comes up as readings, such as past life trauma, karmic patterns, or ancestral healing. And for example, one day I might be helping someone connect with a lost loved one. The next, I might be flying through dragon realms and centuries old family karma. So there's never a dull moment. But let's discuss timeline therapy and karma clearing. Okay. Some people believe that karma is a punishment, but it isn't necessarily toxic. Rather, it's a repeating cycle. Some of it is giving us an opportunity to do things correctly. So think of karma as your soul's greatest hits album. Some tracks are inspiring, while others you want to skip. The Akashic Records help you remix the playlist so that you can clear patterns, anchor in higher timelines, and empower the client to take control of their journey. Okay, I've got an example to explain karma. It's very personal. Karma, and it talks about the power of healing old soul wounds. Okay, so let's talk about me. From the moment I came into this world, my father and I were like oil and water, destined to clash. To put it bluntly, having a daughter was the end of the world for him. He would say things like, "Oh, no, not a girl, anything but that. Why is this happening to me? Why have I got a girl child? What punishment is this?" So growing up, I couldn't really understand why I was being treated like the proverbial thorn in his side. I hadn't done anything wrong, at least not in this lifetime. And the record keepers and guides tell me that he wasn't supposed to react like that. He made a choice to react that way. He was supposed to look at this cute baby and love her unconditionally. He was supposed to put aside his feelings and work through them, break the cycle. Consequently, I spent my life avoiding him. It was too painful being told every day that women are useless, annoying, difficult. The list goes on and on and on. And I felt very rejected by him, very rejected. So I'm very, very sensitive starseed, so that really did used to hurt. Okay. But when got a bit older, I personally wanted to uncover what was the deeper problem between us. Enter the macabre and its time traveling magic. So during a very deep session, I asked Archangel Michael to take me back in time to a past life where this all started. Why was my father like this with me? I'd never done anything to him. I just existed. So I journeyed back to a past life and discovered something quite eye-opening. I was his parent in another lifetime. And let's say, well, I just wasn't winning any Parent of the Year awards back then, and I had given him a pretty hard time. And karmically, the pendulum had swung back in this lifetime, ready for me to make amends. So it wasn't this was happening to me, it was happening for me. Okay.
Mhm.
And this wasn't always easy because, the daily cruelty was something that might harden most people. But when I peeled back the layers of pain and I looked at it from a soul perspective, I realized this. He had agreed to show up as my father at a soul level, to challenge me and to help us both heal. He was not having fun being the father of a girl. It wasn't like he was enjoying this experience. So in this lifetime, I made the choice to forgive him, but to truly, truly forgive him down to the smallest molecule of my being. And that choice changed everything. Okay. And here's the funny part. The breakthrough was so powerful that my mum tells me, sorry, I get a bit emotional now. Whew. My mum tells me that the only time my dad truly relaxes is when he's staying with me on holiday in my home. That's right. The former thorn in his side is now his calm oasis. And the bonus is that my mum gets to relax too, because the only time she can relax is when he's relaxed. Okay. So, of course, the lesson here about karma is that humans fail. We fail big sometimes. And that's why we come back. That's why we come back here. And we might stumble and make mistakes as we grow.
Mhm.
My father didn't get everything right, and that's okay. He was never meant to be perfect, just part of the grand, messy process of learning and soul evolution. When we choose to release past hurts, forgive fully, and see life through the lens of the soul, the healing that follows is nothing short of miraculous. So, yes, life had a plan for us. And even though my father didn't quite stick to the love at sight first, love at first sight script when I was born, we found our peace in the end. And that's the power of karmic healing. It's messy, it's beautiful, and that's why we're here. But sorry, just one last thought on karma. I've been saying since I was 15 years old that this is definitely my last incarnation on this earth plane. I'd had enough by the age of 15 already. But what I've learned from the record keepers and guides is that if you want this to be your last hurrah, then you need to leave with clean karma. And how we do that is we forgive. And I wouldn't say that it's easy to forgive all the pain that I experienced and that I had as a rejected child, but it was actually very simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Forgive with every fiber of your being. You choose happiness, you choose to forgive. Now, I have never actually forgiven this to my father's face because I know that would upset him tremendously. He just wouldn't understand. He would feel that this is a very hippy-dippy feeling, emotional stuff, and that would be very upsetting for him. So I've just forgiven him energetically. And I don't think he can understand why he likes me so much now, but it's the healing. Even recently he visited with my mum and he was showing so much interest in me. It was actually freaking me out a bit, but I just leaned into it. And we just get on so much better now. It's like he respects me, and it's weird for me to put in a sentence that my father respects a female because he doesn't respect women in general. But there you have it. We have a shift. Okay. And if there are any other relationships that I need to heal, I have no hesitation. I just forgive instantly. You don't have to do it face to face with the person, but do it energetically from yourself, not just from your mind and but do it from your heart, of course.
So do you think this same process, that's absolutely beautiful as well. Do you think this same process is applied to, generational trauma, karma when people have children and pass it through? And because we often get lineages, don't we, of people, carrying the burden over and over. And a lot of the time, star seeds come in and we are the bearer of it. We're like, okay, we won't have the kids. We'll stop it here. It ends with me. We kind of stop the line, don't we? So can this same, because I know you're a karma clearing expert within the records, can that same thing be applied for that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. I found myself back in my lineage as a parent to my father. And, it was just going on and on. We were on that hamster wheel of just repeat, rinse and repeat. So, from what I understand, I had sent him off. They didn't have boarding school in those days, but I sent him away, which was, again, to him felt like a rejection in that past life. Whereas, yeah, so absolutely. And I meet people all the time that have a difficult parent and they don't know what's underneath that. What is that? And then we dig. Now, not everybody has the exact same story as me. Sometimes it's not because they were a parent or not like that at all. Sometimes there was no betrayal on their side. Sometimes it just is that the parent in this lifetime needs to learn to be more open. So often, and this is a great example, is when we have children coming through that are that don't follow the status quo, that are perhaps gay or bi or transgender or whatever those things are. Those children are often there to help the parents come out of the past and into the future, because that is the future. We are meant to love each other unconditionally. That's the words. We're meant to do that. And yeah,
That
okay.
makes so much sense because I've had clients in the records before where it's come through where they've been as during the Holocaust, like the Jewish side, and then incarnated, started off as a German Nazi and then come back as a Jew to try and balance out the, to right the wrong. It's seen so often with those extremities. For myself personally, I've had so many lives. My karma is this thing with my body weight. So I've had so many lives where I've not had enough food and then coming back and then having too much. And so finding the balance with that is also a karmic lesson, right? So one of my life lessons is to find the balance in this lifetime, to just leave that behind and not be so extreme, all or nothing. It can work with patterns of behavior and as well, can't it?
Absolutely. And instead of resisting these patterns, instead of trying to either put them under the carpet, hide them under the carpet, or trying to run away from them, if we face them head on, then we can actually overcome them, and we would really be in such a better place when we do, when we overcome everything. Okay, yeah. I'm glad you brought up the different types of readings, because that's what we're going to talk about next, that no two readings are actually alike, and the diversity of experiences inside the record. So one moment I'm helping a client release grief by channeling messages from their ancestors, because a lot of people I've noticed have extreme guilt when somebody's died, and they know their last conversation wasn't perfect, or they were holding on to things, and then we can open the records and hear the unconditional love from that ancestor that's passed over. Because once we pass over, we mostly let go of things, and we then are able to love unconditionally that child or the sibling or whoever it is. And then, so one moment I could be helping a client release grief, then the next moment I could be guiding someone on an interdimensional journey with galactic beings, because lots of my clients have relationships with off-world beings, with the Arcturians or Palladians, and sometimes they come to me because they can't make sense of the messages that are coming through, or what's happening. Why are they seeing these aliens in their third eye? What's this all about? And then we unpack that and we have a quick look and see, what's going on. Um, and it's also very beautifully done. Or another way that another part of the readings is I could be helping somebody simply to choose which country to live in. The record keepers and guides will show them and indicate where they should be living now. They don't tend to like to talk too much about the future, because the future of, although there's can be future versions of us that have done certain things, our personal future is unwritten. And that's because we have free choice. So we can choose however we want to show up. And it's quite a complicated subject, but the record keepers and guides will generally help us understand that. A lot of people want to say, well, when will I do that? And then the record keepers and guides say, when you learn how to change your vibration, when you've activated your Merkaba, when you've done this, then you'll move. Energy moves very quickly like that.
It's spot on, because when you say about the vibration of things, often we will preempt to the client, won't we, and say, just so you know that the messages you're receiving today are based on your current vibration, because so many expectations of timelines. And we've had this conversation before, haven't we, about timelines
Yeah.
and how, yeah, you're absolutely right that it is pre-written, but we do have free will on the journey. And I like to use like the God train analogy. So God's driving the train from A to B, or your creator, with higher self at the helm, leading them with the map. And actually, but we choose which station we get off at. So if you're in a reading in that moment saying our timeline, it's probably accurate in that moment. But if you then go and change your vibration, change your life, do things differently, you could then completely change the whole trajectory of your outcome, of your experience within. Therefore, it maybe not happen in that way. So it's always good to never take fully the timelines from the Akashics, because it's similar as a psychic would do.
Yes.
And also how beautiful that was one of the biggest things that blew me away doing the Akashics, because I had no idea we would be able to channel relatives who had passed. This was not something I was expecting. So when I have people who, one lady I had, she was asking questions about her love life, and I kept getting these chills up and down my body, like someone was nudging me that, excuse me, trying to get my attention. And the name Eric kept coming up. I was like, Eric, who's Eric? And he was like, you need to tell her. And I was like, okay. And then he came through with a message, and I had to stop the reading. And I said to the lady, I'm really sorry. I'm gonna have to stop this flow. I've got an Eric here who's got a message for you. And for me, however many years ago I trained with you, if you was to say to me, oh, by the way, yeah, you're going to be giving messages to people from their dead relatives, I'd be like, no, never. Within an Akashic reading, right? So the message comes through, and he said, he wanted her to go to this place in America. And she started crying, and she said, that was my cousin Eric. He passed away in a motorcycle, accident. It was very emotional. And he was telling her, you have to go see the family. And she was booked the flight to go the next day. So it was just so beautiful. As you're saying, like when you're in the records, anything can happen. It can be a prediction, like a psychic reading. It can be mediumship, clairvoyancy, speaking to relatives who have passed. It can be messages, or we can be riding a dragon.
That's true. That's true. One thing, just talking about the timelines and the past and the future, one thing that the Akashic Record Keepers and Guides are doing at the moment is they'll say to the person, through me, they'll say, even though you want to know when you're going to do X, Y, Z, or if it's possible, they'll say it is part of the original plan that you wanted. So you did want this. They're happy to do that. So they say it's part of the master plan that you marry that person, or that you become an Akashic record reader, or become a hypnotist, or whatever it is. But then it's up to you to then actually make it happen. And it works tremendously with belief as well. So they have said to one of my clients that um, she would be able to do something specific. And then she just couldn't believe it. She just didn't believe she was worthy. So then she couldn't get there. So she missed the deadline. But yeah, it's up to you. It's up to you 100%. They will.
It will, isn't it? Yeah.
And I guess the uniqueness of the records is that it contains every answer that you're looking for tailored uniquely to your soul. It's like a cosmic FAQ, but instead of generic answers, you get a custom tailored wisdom straight from your guides, which is pretty fancy, right? Which is, I think, what you were saying earlier.
Absolutely. And it's so fascinating as well when we're in the records, sometimes, because if people are asking about maybe past life incarnations, or, karma, or what's my connection to my family. First of all, a lot of the questions they ask, the most frequently asked question within the records is, what's my soul purpose? What's my mission? What am I here to do? And we're in a library of everything. We're in
Yeah.
the library of everything that ever existed. So that's when you ask a very huge, vague question, you're going to get a very vague answer. Sometimes they will come in and, kind of fine tune it for you. But I tend to kind of guide people to be more bespoke with the questioning. I'm like, well, let's break it down. Are we talking about your career goals? Are we talking about your mission on earth with your family? Like, let's be specific. And then it can fine tune. But what's sometimes beautiful, I just allow the guides to come through and give the client what they need to hear, because it's always going to be what they need to hear, right? And sometimes it is them just being alive, shining their light is enough. And
Yeah.
that is their purpose, or to come here to experience life on earth as a human. And that's what they needed to hear in that moment, to be reminded of the simplicity of it. And that's why the records are so beautiful.
Yes, and I love that you were interrupted in one of your readings by Eric, because I know that we've got pretty much about an hour with somebody, and the guides will decide if the client isn't going to get, or the person coming to me for a reading isn't going to get to the right answers questions, then they will jump in and bring in some
Take
information.
over, don't they?
Yeah, they do take over. I'm so sorry. They normally wait for a question, but I have to tell you.
Yeah, yeah, I must tell you now. And another thing they tend to do as well is, if, because I said, I was saying previously, if we're channeling for them past lives that they've had, what often happens is the guides are coming in, and you can tell when someone's maybe not sure. They're like, are they making this up? So the guides will go, ha, they need proof. So then they'll give to me some information that only that person will know. And I'll say, well, your psychology degree that you did, from before. And they're like, oh, how do you know? I'm like, well, the guides just told me so that and then that's it. They then are following the whole reading. It makes sense. They believe it. They feel it, or they'll get sent the emotions, right?
Yeah, the emotions are a good one. How many times we've had to use tissue in our readings.
If I'm not crying during an Akashic reading, I don't think I've done a good job. In happy tears, though, it's normally love from the guides.
Oh, yes, yeah. I'm always quite grateful for the happy tears.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So, yeah, absolutely. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay. So what I'd like to talk about next is the way that I personally teach people how to access the records and why it's different, what I do differently. So we've already started talking about um, the, the high self and the macabre, etc. But let's just start with this perspective. I have a lot of students who come to me and tell me that they cannot access the records, and they don't know why. So they might have done a workshop or they've read a book and it's just not working. They still can't get into the records and trust that information that they are receiving. And of course, I know exactly why. And the quick answer is that they need to activate their Merkaba in order to raise themselves up to the fifth dimension. And we also need to think about it from this aspect. It's much easier for the Akashic Record keepers and guides in the 11th dimension to communicate with us when we lift ourselves up out of the heaviness of the third dimension. Okay, so yeah, so they've got to come all the way down to the third dimension. But if you activate your Merkaba, boom, you're up in the 5D. And as part of the training process, I take my students through the nuances of the higher self, workshopping with them deeply transformative gift of connection with the higher self. And this is also where it all starts. The process where we start is with the higher self. Yeah, it's really, really key, very, very important.
What I
Okay.
will say as well with your training with this, having seen many other ways that people train people to access the records, and not being able to, the higher self, and then the practices you get us to do during number 6
Yeah.
are a game changer. And for me, it's because what I see a lot is people still not discerning between ego mind versus higher self and the guides. And the practices that you give us on this training are what I would say are fine tune this training beyond any other, because you have to be able to trust and know that the visuals, the emotions, the feelings you're getting are from the guides, and to reciprocate that. And so many times when you first, finish your training and start going off into the world and maybe do your own readings or for others, it's like, oh, is this true? Is this accurate what I'm being shown? You have to do the practice again until you get to the point of, oh, I'm being shown the San Francisco Bridge. I'm just going to say what I see. You say it and they go, oh my God, I was born in San Francisco. So then you can go, right, thank you. So the practices within this are something I haven't ever seen before. And I'm always come back to you, and I always mention you in so much of my work, Catherine, because of the way that you've been able to channel this and share this and facilitate this. It's definitely the best, most accurate, most thorough. And that's why you get so many fantastic reviews, right?
Serena, I'm blushing. Um,
You're going to make her blush. I know I would. You're too humble, my friend.
Thank you. But I am pleased you brought up the ego there, because that's one of the trainings that I do. Part of the higher self, step one, is we work with the ego mind, because we love the ego, and we want to work with the ego, nurture it. But we do need to help the ego move to a place where it aligns with the higher self and the rest of us, so that if everything's in order, then we can easily go into the records. And the ego, we do a lot of work with the ego because it can be very nervous about this higher self and this Akashic Records. And think about the ego's been in control since you were born, day one. And now all of a sudden you're saying, well, actually, you were the CEO. Now you're getting shifted out, and there's a new leader in town. And that can be very scary for the ego. So it can throw temper tantrums, it can throw it can throw you off course, it can block you. So we do a lot of work with the ego mind, especially with very sensitive star seeds that tend to be the ones that come to me for training. Their ego can be quite strong because they've experienced trauma in this lifetime because they're very gentle souls. Yeah.
And what you said about the vibration as well, the guides I've recognized and observed will literally block you from accessing certain things. If you're not in the right vibration, intention, and your ego is coming forward, you won't be allowed information. You'll just get nothing. So, for your own benefit and for if you're reading for others, it's so important to do the work. And I think you're gonna cover a little bit in a minute how we do that for ourselves, don't we? And our intentions at the end. But
Yes, yeah, yeah, I will do that. Okay, all right. Okay, so the next thing we are going to move on to, so week one, we do higher self. Week two, we do the Merkaba activation level one. And again, just another way of looking at it is think of it as a spiritual elevator helping you rise through the dimensions and access your highest potential. The Merkaba should be understood to be a personal organic spaceship that can be programmed to make improvements in our lives, a light body that functions as an energetic amplifier, turning thoughts and intentions into reality with greater speed and precision. It also aligns your masculine and feminine sides. And most excitingly, we also get to do the programming, which we've discussed earlier. Anything from improving your physical body to releasing addictions, very easy to remove addictions with your Merkaba activated, to shifting you out of procrastination, clearing energetic blocks, time travel, as I said, and understanding light language. That's been a very magical gift to me as well from the activation of my Merkaba. And Serena mentioned this earlier. One of the most important things about the Merkaba is that it drops your innate spiritual skills and gifts into a place where you can actually get your hands on them and start using them in your everyday life experience. I mean, without your Merkaba activated, you might be guessing that you are a shaman, a Reiki master, an Akashic record reader, a prophet, a Sangoma, or a healer, but you're just not sure. But then when your Merkaba is activated, it helps you to understand who you are at a soul level. Okay. Okay, so once the Merkaba is activated, we then go on to connect with oh no, we do the abundance workshop because I want to show my students how to work with the flow of abundance. A lot of my students come to me and they are stuck in the matrix of normal 9 to 5 jobs and they want to break out of that. So we work on changing their mindset and energy patterns to receive abundance outside of the matrix. I can see you want to say something, Serena. Oh, no, no. Okay. Yeah, so I definitely help them to understand what it's going to be like to earn their money and how to work with energy, manipulate the energy. That's one of the things that humans are supposed to be able to do. We're supposed to be able to manipulate energy. We are that powerful. We just have to believe in ourselves. And then, of course, we go on to connect with the dragon community through a guided meditation. I introduce my students to the powerful dragon families that are available for us to work with at this time, and there are many. And the students experience an initiation and also strengthen their relationship with their own personal dragon. And I think, Serena, I know you had an amazing experience with the dragons. Would you like to share anything?
I
Yeah.
think Dragon Week was my favorite week ever. It was just going into that because I was not someone who ever, I used to see dragon statues and thought dragons were cool, but I was never that person. I never was. And as soon as I did Dragon Week, that was it. I wanted to do Dragon Week every week forever. And I still now tap into the dragons, my personal dragon. I'm passionate about the lineage of the dragons. There's so much information that we didn't know. And I think going forward in this golden age of Aquarius we're talking about, it's going to become more apparent that yes, dragons did exist in this realm once upon a time, and they are within us in the other dimensions, and we can work with them. They are super magical. But yeah, I would do the course all over again just to do Dragon Week.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I've noticed a lot of people are really moved by that one. And I actually put it in to give people a chance to let their level two Merkaba percolate before we did the opening of the records. So, but it's become such a very popular training session. So it's really, really good. Yeah, so we allow 2 weeks for Merkaba level one to activate, and then we percolate, should I say, and 2 weeks for level two to percolate before we then actually go into the records. And I think um, even if you even if you never read for others, learning to access the records for yourself is a game changer. It's like being handed the keys to your soul's user manual. It's just so powerful. So, so, so powerful. Okay, good.
I mean, I only learned the records for myself. I actually did your course very selfishly, thinking, oh, this would be great for myself. And I did not think I would be reading for others. And what was uncovered during mini readings with yourself and the Merkaba and the training was actually I was an Akashic reader in many lifetimes, and I was pulled back to it for a reason. And now, 350 hours into the records, I'm like, oh, wow, okay, this is cool. So even if you are curious about it and wanting to come in and say, yeah, I'll just do it for myself for my own benefit, you may end up organically just gifting it because it is a gift for others. It provides so much peace and clarity and guidance. It really does.
Absolutely. I would say I would feel like I'm never ever going to feel alone ever for the rest of my life. I'll never feel loneliness once more. But that's a good point. Who is who is this for? I mean, I think it's suitable for spiritual humans, leaders, or healers, whether they want to read for themselves or others. Like we said, individual growth. You can start your own business. I mean, I started just for myself and ended up with 40 readings per month. You just never know where it's going to lead. It's like, wow, I don't have enough hours in the day. So that can be really, really good. I would say that there's a when I take people through the training, there is quite a few non-negotiables for the students. We have to respect the guides and the records. That is one thing that, that I've said to you a million times that the guides are so gentle and so loving, but they do demand respect. If you do not respect them, you will be kicked out of the records. And then who wants that? So we respect the guides and the records. We always set intentions for clarity and peace and truth. We protect the energy of the session and honor. I always honor the client's highest good. If you're wondering how I personally stay grounded and ethical as an Akashic Record reading, I have a few non-negotiables. So picture this: before every session, I go full spiritual ninja. I ground myself, center my energy, respectfully call in the guides and ascended masters with a very structured opening prayer. You could say it's a bit like setting the table before inviting the universe for dinner, except I don't get any uninvited guests. They are not allowed to crash the party. Okay. And then when I do open the records, I treat it like borrowing a friend's diary. Sure, I'm allowed to look at certain things because they have given me permission, but you better believe I'm not flipping through extra pages out of curiosity. There's ethical boundaries are key. No snooping, no judgment, and certainly no sharing someone's divine downloads without their say so. Okay. The guides are very, very specific about that. A lot of readings, I would say, I don't even remember them. I come out of the answering the question and I say, like as though I do, I say, "Oh, did they answer your question?" Because I have no idea what the last thing I just said was. So yes, and then some people will come for a second reading or third or fourth or fifth, and they say, "Last time you said this and this." I have no idea that I said that, but okay, okay, good. All right, so it's also good to understand that the rules are enforced by the guides in the 11th dimension. They will never let anyone spy on someone else's records. It's not allowed. So, for example, we can find out information about others and how it impacts us, to a point, but the guides are very protective of everyone's information. You'll see sometimes they just will not answer a question. Sorry, you can't have that information. And I think it works for mums with children as well. They are desperate to kind of control their children, but the guys will sometimes say, nope, that's all you get. Sorry. And I personally will never ever open up someone else's records without their express permission. It just won't happen because I love, love, love the records. And if I was to behave in a lower vibrational way like that, I would get kicked out of the records permanently. And who wants that? So okay, so as for staying grounded, let's just say I'm not floating off to the astral planes without a tether. When I'm done in the records, I close them with gratitude, like thanking the universe for lending me its cosmic Wi-Fi to access the sacred wisdom. And afterwards, I might do something as gloriously ordinary as making a cup of tea, or moving into a downward dog yoga pose, or contemplating the mysteries of the fridge. Nothing says back to earth like deciding what's for dinner. So, so there it is. I keep one foot in the spiritual realm and one firmly planted on the ground because nobody wants an Akashic record reading drifting off mid-sentence. Okay. Okay, so just to sum up, the Akashic Records are more than just a spiritual tool. They are a gateway to transformation, healing, and awakening for your soul's fullest potential. Whether you're clearing karma, discovering your life's purpose, or just curious about your past lives, the records hold infinite wisdom. And the best part is they're available to all of us. So just going forward, I'd be delighted if you booked a reading or joined a workshop or explored training with me. Um, and if you're ready to break the karmic Groundhog Day and maybe even meet a dragon or two, let's dive into the records training together. Who knows? Your soul's greatest adventure could be just one session away. I just also want to mention that we are preparing an on-demand version of the training so that people can study in their own time with lifetime access to this information. And it's a lot more cost effective than a one-to-one training with myself. I love one-to-one training with clients. We have so much fun. But at the same time, I totally understand that life is very busy at the moment for everyone. Even when they do the on-demand training, I'm still available for any questions. I will also invite all students to a WhatsApp group where we can share questions, experiences, and a lot of love, of course, unconditional love. And I just want to take a moment now to thank you all, you magical souls, for letting me share this interesting journey with you. Remember that the answers you seek are already within you. Sometimes we just need an Akashic Record Keeper guide or maybe a unicorn to help you find them. And I definitely want to thank my host today, Serena, for sharing the magic of the Akashic Records with us and for sharing all your personal experiences. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you all on the Akashic Record training course. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I will end the call here, and thanks everything. Thanks again to everyone. Just want to check. There we go.